In today's video, I have put together a compilation of 3 stories that are on this channel. Some are old, some are new. If you do enjoy today's content, make sure to like and subscribe because I'm doing one every single day. And if you do enjoy it, put a comment down of what case you would like me to do next. But anyway, let's get into today's video. This case is so bizarre because of one thing. This family went on this trip that they have been on dozens and dozens and dozens of times. But this time was completely different, and one person disappeared in thin air. Literally, there was no tracks, there was no indication that he had moved anywhere, he just disappeared. This is the case of Dennis Martin from 1969. And if you do enjoy this content, make sure to like and subscribe, but let's get into today's story. In June of 1969, the Martin family prepared for something they had done many times before. This was their Father's Day weekend, which was meant only for one thing: packing up and heading into the woods. Dennis Martin, 6 years old and full of energy, watched as tents, sleeping bags, foods, drink and gear were gathered and loaded into their truck. To Dennis, this wasn't an unusual trip, it was familiar, routine and exciting. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park wasn't an unknown wilderness to him. It was a place his family returned to year after year, a place associated with laughter, campfires, and long walks through the trees. The family drove from Knoxville towards the park, setting into the calm rhythm of a holiday weekend. There was no tension, no argument, no sign that anything was wrong. Dennis was healthy, he was happy, and behaving like any other child would. When they arrived, they set up camp, unpacked bags, supplies, and prepared for the hike they had planned to take the next day. Nothing about the preparation suggested danger. No one could have imagined this would be the last normal evening they would spend together. On June 14th, 1969, the family set out on a hike along the Appalachian Trail, moving towards a wide mountain clearing known as Spence Field. The hike was unhurried. Adults talked as they walked. The children moved ahead and lagged behind, exploring, laughing, and enjoying the open space and cool mountain air. Dennis stayed close, comfortable in a place that felt safe. As the group reached Spence Field, Dennis and the other children began playing a simple game. Dennis decided he would hide and jump out to scare the adults like any other kid would. A small joke the kind of 6-year-old would have, and they would think it would be hilarious. He stepped off the trail and out of sight, likely only a few yards away, planning to surprise his family as they passed. He was getting so excited, hiding behind this tree. Minutes went by, and Dennis didn't jump out at the parents. When the other children jumped out and scared their parents, Dennis didn't. At first, his father assumed Dennis was still hiding. He called his name, expecting laughter, giggling, and movement behind the brush, but there was nothing. No reply, no rustling. His father searched nearby, checking behind the trees and bushes, and then widened the area. And then the realization kicked in straight away. Dennis wasn't playing anymore. Park rangers were alerted almost immediately. Searchers fanned out across Spence Field and into the surrounding forests, calling his name over and over again. There were no footprints, no broken branches, no sign of where Dennis might have gone. Then as the search intensified, a heavy storm moved through the mountains. Rain fell hard, soaking the ground and likely erasing any tracks of clues that could have helped or could have signalled that Dennis Martin was there. Over the following days, the search became massive. More than 1,000 people took part: park rangers, law enforcement, volunteers, military personnel, and specialised search teams. Helicopters scanned from above, dogs worked the trails, searchers crawled through deep undergrowth, steep slopes, and deep ravines when a child could easily have slipped and disappeared. Still, nothing was found. No clothing, no remains, no evidence that Dennis had moved deeper into the woods or left the area at all. Another family camping miles away claimed that they heard a scream and later saw a man moving through the forest carrying something over his shoulder. Investigators followed the lead, but it produced no evidence and no connection to Dennis. The sightings remained unresolved, neither confirming nor proving anything that is to do with Dennis Martin. Weeks passed, the terrain, the weather and the sheer size of the wilderness worked against the search. Eventually, despite every effort, the official search was called off in September of 1969. Dennis Martin was never found alive or dead. It is so weird how a child went on a familiar family trip that they had been dozens of times. He was playing a game with his parents, hid behind a tree, and vanished completely. There was no struggle, no confirmed accident, no trail to follow, just a quiet mountain clearing and a disappearance that will never be explained. This was the story of Dennis Martin from 1969. And if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe. If you do enjoy true crime, true mystery, anything that is mysterious, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Comment on which case you would like me to do next. I know I have done this case before, but I thought it just needed a redo. More information than I did last time. But like I said, if you do enjoy this content, make sure to like and subscribe. And I shall see you on the next one. Goodbye. Stacey Ann Arris was a 14-year-old girl who vanished while on a horseback riding trip with her father and several other companions in the Yosemite National Park in California on July 17, 1981. Her disappearance remains one of the most baffling cases in the history of the park and has become a notable entry in the missing 411 phenomenon. Hello everyone, this is TrueViewer, and today we're going over the disappearance of Stacey Ann Arris, who originally was a horseback rider who was riding with her father in 1981. So if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like and subscribe. Now I'm doing more of these videos every 2 days, and if you enjoy the content, put notifications on so you don't miss when I upload. So let's get into today's story. Stacey Ann Arris was a part of a group of 7 people, including her father, who had embarked on a multi-day trip to the Yosemite High Sierra camps. I don't know if I got that wrong. It's Sierra? I don't know. Sierra camps. A series of remote campsites accessible by horseback or foot. On the day of her disappearance, the group arrived at the Sunrise High camp, located about 10 miles from the park's main trailhead. After the group settled in, Stacey decided to freshen up and explore the area. She told her father she wanted to take photographs of a nearby lake, which was just a short walk from the camp. A middle-aged man from the group decided to accompany her, but after a short distance he felt tired and decided to rest on a rock. Stacey continued on alone towards this lake. This was the last time anyone saw Stacey. She did not return after a reasonable amount of time. The man became concerned and headed back to the camp to alert the others. A search of the immediate area began quickly, but there was no signs of Stacey. She had gone down the lake and had returned. As the hours passed, a more extensive search and rescue operation was launched, involving park rangers, volunteers, and even helicopters. Over the next several days, more than 100 searchers searched the terrain surrounding the camp. Despite, though, the thorough search, they even including checking the lake, nearby trails, and everywhere else, there was still no sign of Stacey. Search dogs were even brought in, but they weren't able to pick up any scent beyond a certain point. Strangely, there was no signs of a struggle, and Stacey's tracks seemed to simply just vanish. There was footsteps, and then it was just gone. Searchers were baffled by the sudden disappearance, given that Stacey had only planned to walk to the lake and walk back, and there was no dangers ahead. The disappearance of her has led to numerous theories and speculation. Some believe she had been abducted by a stranger or even a member of the group, though there was no evidence to support this claim. Even people thought she had been abducted by aliens. That was a theory. There was also more theories that there was an animal attack, but there was no animals around. Or there was a supernatural occurrence that had happened, but there was again no evidence to support that. Ideas often referenced in missing 411 discussions were UFOs or supernatural phenomena. The disappearance remains unsolved to this day, and no one really knows what happened. to Stacy Ann Aris when she disappeared on July 17th, 1981. So if you enjoy this content, make sure to like and subscribe, turn notifications on, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye. I don't get how this one person went missing and then took a whole month surviving inside of the forest that was in their area with no food or water. This is the story of Lisa Theris, who disappeared in July 2017. Let's get into today's story. Lisa Theris, a 25-year-old radiology student, was with two men, Randall Oswald and Manly Davis. Around the time of her disappearance, Oswald and Davis were planning to rob a hunting lodge near Midway, Alabama. Theris was reportedly unaware of the full extent of their plans when she was with them. According to Theris's account, once she learned that the two men were planning a burglary, she refused to participate. Fearing for her own safety, she fled from the scene and ran into the Alabama woods. This decision to escape would lead her to getting lost into the wilderness. Once Theris fled the two men, she became disoriented and was lost in the heavily wooded rural area of Bullock County in Alabama. She had no phone, no food, no supplies with her, and she just wandered into the forest, and for over 3 weeks no one knew about her whereabouts. During her 25 days in the Alabama wilderness, Lisa survived in extreme conditions. She did not have any survival gear at all, and she only used resources that were in the woods, such as berries, mushrooms, and water from the creeks. She later said that she became increasingly disoriented, not knowing where she was, what she was doing, and she often wandered in circles. Theris was exposed to the harsh elements of the summer, including intense heat and constant insect bites, which left her body scratched and bitten and covered in all mess all over her body. Despite her weakened state, she kept moving in hopes of finding a way out of the forest. After Lisa went missing, authorities launched a really big search party for her to locate her whereabouts and gave any details about her to all the local Alabama residents. It was initially unclear whether Theris was accompanied in the burglary or she was a victim of it. No one knew for certain because the search parties found the two burglars, Oswald and Davis. They found them and them two had no clue about their whereabouts, but they got caught from the burglary. And they had no clue where Theris had fled and went to. So the two men that she had been with, that were, again, like I said, Oswald and Davis, were arrested on burglary charges during the time. Investigators questioned them about where Theris's whereabouts, but it was not until weeks later that she had actually been discovered. On August 12, 2017, Theris was found on a side of Highway 82 in Bullock County, Alabama, nearly 30 miles from where she had fled from. She was spotted by a passing motorist who saw her on the side of the road, distressed and disoriented. Theris was naked on the side of the street, covered in dirt and scratches and insect bites, and appeared to be severely malnourished. She had lost 40 pounds during the ordeal. She was then immediately fled to the hospital where she made a full recovery, and while her survival was still remarkable, the circumstances about her disappearance still led to questions, like what actually happened and where she went. Following her recovery, authorities confirmed that Theris was not involved in any criminal activity that had been taking place that day, and was considered a victim of the circumstances. The two men, Randall Oswald and Manly Davis, were charged with burglary, but no charges were filed against Theris. Her story gained widespread media attention due to the dramatic nature of her survival. However, some questioned about how she managed to survive for such a long time with limited food and water. Despite speculation, experts have suggested that it is possible to survive for weeks on minimal substances in extreme situations, though it had been very difficult. But no one knows except herself. And yeah, and if you enjoyed today's story, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'm sure to be doing more of these in the future, like I am. And I just hope you have a good day, and I'll see you later. Bye.